Here. It is 6:01. I call this Monday, April 27th, board meeting, Board of Trustees. Order, please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will entertain any public comment. If you have any public comment you'd like to make, please come to the microphone and just state your name and your address for Jenna to be able to write it down and then to comment. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Keep an eye on the landmark inn at 64 Chestnut Street. And we're just here sort of as an exploratory. We're interested in seeing if we can change our current zoning from a residential area and tack onto the commercial zone that's up on Railroad Avenue, that's up to our property. Since we are a hotel licensed by the state of New York and the health department, we feel we're not able to fully take advantage of all of our assets and host more events and do more community efforts as well. So we're just here sort of trying to get some feedback to see initial thoughts and then what the next steps would be.
So I do have a question for you guys. What kind of events were you thinking of?
Just like the dinner stuff we did doing, like we did in January or January this year, in March this year, like our dessert that we're having 2 weeks. Our dessert sampling that we're doing in 2 weeks, we just would like to do more of those in the off season to sort of take advantage of our assets and our energy and our staff. Just those more things for people to do, which is lovely, but there's no time.
I know
you.
that came up, what was it, about a year or a half ago or whatever, and the board, modified but approved those things under your special use permit. So is there something in addition that would be advantageous in a commercial that you can't
Just
do?
not having the restriction, like maybe 12 events we were allowed to have or something, just not having the restriction.
Yeah.
We can simply make more activities and it's.
Is there something you could quantify rather than a wholesale change in zoning, I guess is the question. How much more could we arrange for that would enable you to reach your objective using the permit process? And we don't want to put you on the spot right now, but that is an approach. I don't think anybody's interested in stifling your efforts.
I think,
I'm sorry.
well, I was just gonna clarify that in order for anything to happen on that property that is covered under the special permit, it has to be accessory to the hotel. And so we could debate what exactly accessory means, how many people, how many times a year. But I think the reason for the request is that that's always going to be a discussion. Whereas we made a similar change in zoning for the inn at Cooperstown so that that discussion no longer had to take place every time something was happening.
Could you give an example of what you think how the accessory to hotel use would be limited in the kind of events?
Like the number of people, for example. So you're allowed, I think, 12 a year, up to 20 people, is that correct?
To the occupancy, yeah, so when we do the suppers for the community, we're closed, so that way we can have the people come in and we have enough seats and we can make sure we have the head count to occupy our dining room.
Right, but if you have a hotel, I'm a little confused. Hotels offer banquet facilities or dining facilities. Hilton just had 2,000 people, all scary thing.
Well, I think that's part of the question too, like we don't fully understand why even though we're licensed as a hotel, why we've got the restrictions that we have.
Why we don't have that special permit, that's only, well.
Question,
Our
Ellen.
hotel.
Okay.
Richard?
I have a question. One to Ellen. Have we gotten any complaints about any of their events?
No.
Okay.
But I think they're looking to do more.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Mhm.
I mean, that's to me somewhat important in making a determination whether to loosen things up more. And what marketing are you doing about these special events? I personally have heard nothing about any of it.
It's part of the.
I do read the Freeman's Journal.
I think that's part of the limitation too, we just do it via social media, and we basically doing, via, Celebrate Cooperstown. And the intent was local,
Yeah.
so we go to the resources where all the locals kind of see the events that we're doing. But other events, part of the restriction is, we're not really allowed to invite a lot of people outside of the community, because we're fear that we're going against what the policy is, so. The intent was really to just focus on local community. But with this kind of different permit, we're hoping that we can expand it a little and so forth and so on. And mainly also just get a clear understanding of, we are licensed as a hotel, but we have these kind of weird restrictions, which I know is based on stuff in the past, but we're very friendly with all of our neighbors, again, behind us is 2 commercial places. There's a church to the right of us, there's an apartment complex to the left of us, there's a mega Cooper's diagonally, diagonally across from us, so. We're just kind of, again, like, just kind of asking and wondering, and we want to put a great case together to kind of present y'all to potentially move to the next step.
And the other thing in addition to the dinners is that you have had and would like potentially to have more pop-up retail during the off-season, correct?
And also any kind of grants or additional funding that we get, because we can also get to by being in the commercial zone.
Can I ask a question? I'm curious, how big of an event are you looking at? I mean, right now you're restricted to 20. So what size would you be thinking?
Anything that's doing more size.
It's the quantity more than the size.
So, because seating is not designed to go over 24 people, 6 people, so maximum you can accommodate on a given time.
So is there a path of least resistance we could take to meet you with our regulation? And I'm looking to Cindy because I don't have the law in front of us, but this question of accessory is one, accessory to hotel use.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound to me, and I just haven't looked into it, doesn't sound to me like what you're doing is not accessory to your hotel activity.
Their special use permit is extremely complicated. It has a long and storied history to it, including annual renewals that are no longer there.
That are no longer there.
Yeah.
It goes back to 2012, and you may, those of you who are on the board on January 2025, so that was just a year ago.
Yeah. So in any case, it is not a traditional special use permit.
Yeah.
I mean, we could consider issuing, I would suggest starting from, if we're going to go special use permit, I would suggest starting from scratch and not going back
And trying to modify.
trying to modify it yet again. That said, that's not going to solve the grant situation, right? Because there's still a hotel in a residential area.
So do we need to do kind of a benefit cost or a pros and con list for you're having a new special use permit built from scratch or a change in zoning, or is there a third option?
They could apply for a PDD, which would also be a change in
Yeah, that's
zoning.
when you said Bank of Cooperstown, because the New York Pizzeria
Yeah.
and Bank of Cooperstown are 2 separate PDDs.
That would be
you
the
know.
most complicated of.
Yeah, And I'm not a fan of them personally.
I have a question. What is a PDD?
A planned development district.
Ah,
It's on our zoning map, those
Okay.
two places.
Could we increase the number of, as a starting point, events they do as we work through any change in zoning? I mean, there are no complaints, they're not, everything's going great, it sounds wonderful for the community. Let's, as a start, can we just amend that to allow them to do more, what was it, 12 or 10 that we're allowing right now?
it was 12.
12? Yeah.
I would feel better if we threw out the old special use permit and
Started
started.
Yeah, but I'm
over.
saying-
Don't keep amending.
No, I'm not, but
Yeah.
in the interim, because when we throw stuff out, start working on it, it can take months. And this way they would have the opportunity of expanding their services. To me, anything related to food, beverage service is a primary function of a hotel. A hotel does not necessarily require people to be sleeping there. I mean, look at the Washington Hilton.
I know, but,
Or whatever.
but you just said is a primary function of a hotel, which raises the question about whether it's an accessory use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, I think this has potential, whether it's a PDD, a commercial district change or modification. So essentially, we have like 3 routes.
Yeah.
We're not sure. I would actually like to refer this to our zoning chairs. So each of our boards, our planning board, ZBA, and even H Park can kind of give us some feedback from their zoning perspectives that maybe we, aren't thinking of right now. So that would be my recommendation to, do you have something kind of written up, or I know you have the
They
map?
have your zoning map.
Yeah, and what could be.
Shows where the
Mhm.
commercial district backs up to our property, so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think in terms of your business plan, I think Ellen was getting at that, what your business wants to accomplish there, and then we can maybe tailor a permit or a solution, but we really, keep blue sky for us exactly what you're.
Maybe a couple points on, because as we're amenable to modifying or rewriting if needed, a special use permit, but it doesn't get you the accessibility to the commercial grants you might be interested in. So I think if you just made a few bullet points on how this could benefit your business in ways that couldn't be accommodated if it were a modification of the special use permit would be useful. And we would refer it to our zoning boards to just get more minds thinking about it.
Great.
Is there any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Is there any other public comment tonight? All right. Moving on to correspondence. In your package, you have an email from Beth Siddle regarding the village's heat pump campaign. And the high costs that we're all experiencing now in electricity.
Just by point of clarification, the heat pump campaign was related to the Climate Smart Community application. I did have it removed from the next Village Voices because we no longer at this particular moment need to track that, as we will talk about later in the meeting. So, but I think Beth's point is certainly timely that. Yeah, while heat pumps may still be a good option for the environment, they are not always a good option for one's wallet.
I think the most relevant point, and I had mentioned this before, because for a while, much of New York's electricity came from hydropower. Now, we're fossil fuels now, so it is a shift to a not clean energy. They have a letter from Gozigan, Watford, and Clinton giving notice of a public hearing that was held already on April 14th, amending the town of Middlefield zoning law. This is kind of a de facto thing where they have to notify us of this. You then have an email regarding a co-sponsorship request from the League of Women Voters for an event featuring Ellen Weiss and Gretchen Soren discussing the book Spell Freedom on May 28th. And so you have a letter from Hoodie Podolsky about this and some information on the book, the author's book, Elaine's book, Spell Freedom, the Underground Schools That Built the Civil Rights Movement. So I think they're asking for a co-sponsorship request. This isn't monetary or anything, but it would be, the board would like in some ways to co-sponsor this event.
I'd be interested in co-sponsoring it.
All right, so motion made by Molly.
I have
Okay,
comments.
second by Audrey, just so we can discuss it. Okay.
Okay, personally, I'd be happy to personally co-sponsor it, be happy to, it could, contribute to it. I don't think the board should be getting into this, because then we're gonna have other people, all sorts of things. Would you co-sponsor this event at the library? Would you co-sponsor this speaker on Sunday afternoon? I mean, this is great. I love Gretchen. I think it's wonderful. As I said, I'd personally be willing to put my money behind it. I just don't think we should get into that business.
It's not, they aren't asking for finances.
No, it's still the point is, we're supporting this activity and we're putting our premature on it, that this is great.
Right.
And then other people are gonna say the same thing to us. Would you please co-sponsor this? We're not asking you for money. We just want to put your name on it. Do we really want to, I mean, if you want to go down that route, that's fine. But if we start doing it, other people are going to say, hey, we'd like the village to say, this is good. That's just where I'm standing on it.
Can I just point out
Sure.
that the first sentence in the second paragraph, and I think talking to a couple of them, I had this as sense as well. We only ask co-sponsors to help with publicizing the event through your network. It was just a way to get it out there more. They aren't asking for money or, you know, other than that, it's just a way to promote the idea. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, I would say, you know, we're talking about basically government speech. And
Right.
We can make government speech and we can take a position on something that we think adds value to the community. We can then discern some other thing as not being that and not sponsor it. So I'm not afraid of confronting those choices. I think this choice is an appropriate one to go in favor of.
Would anyone else like to make a comment or
No,
no?
I agree with what Joe's saying, because this is a little different. It is about democracy and, you know, government, and we aren't, you know, doing any in kind. Well, I guess you could say by publicizing it, we might think, but it's not like we're providing any
Right.
funds.
I fully understand there's no money involved. I fully understand this is something great to support. I'm willing to personally support it. You all understand how I feel about subjects like this. I'm just concerned that somebody comes with a different political opinion and say, would you please co-sponsor this for publicity? And then what are we going to say? We don't agree with your opinion. I mean, personally, I can do that, but I don't know how I can do that, you know, whether that's going to be legitimate as a government agency. I'm going to ask Martin, what do you think, Martin? Well, Martin, if you don't tell me, if you tell me I'm wrong,
It's a political decision. I've been a municipal attorney for 47 years. I never get in the middle of those things. I get squashed.
I will point out the league is non-partisan
Partisan.
political.
Right.
You know, it's not like we're saying side with.
And this is about a fundamental thing that's not Republican or Democrat or anything. It's
Really.
our
It's civics.
right.
Fine. Well, we have a lot of business tonight, so I'm going to, the motion's been made and it's been seconded. All those in favor of co-sponsoring by assisting with publicizing this event, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, and no one opposed.
I'm not opposed.
Um,
I had
I
my,
do want to point out, there were not in your packet, but these I mentioned this morning at breakfast with the board, but since this is now a even more public meeting, I would like to point out that May 9th, Saturday, May 9th at 9 a.m. is Cooperstown Museum Day. All the museums are free. And the Baseball Hall of Fame is taking that opportunity at 9 o'clock on Saturday, May 9th, to have a ribbon cutting for their museum store. I forwarded to all of you the invitation from Josh Rowitz. And if you are planning to attend, please RSVP. And the other thing was alluded to again at breakfast with the board, and that is extremely exciting news. The Village of Cooperstown has received the Bronze Award as a climate smart community. We had an inkling that that would be occurring, but DEC said we had to be somewhat mum until they did their splashy press release, which they did. I can forward that to everyone as well. And so we probably will do a press release that's more, for our local papers on our website, et cetera. That was not an easy task. And we are incredibly indebted to Mohawk Valley Economic Development District, which basically we'd say, here are pictures of recycling containers, put it in. Because it's a very user unfriendly website. But we're really quite pleased about it. So good news to Cooperstown. We have no public hearings tonight. Please, we have the review and approval of our minutes. I know both Cindy and I sent some corrections for the March 23rd regular meeting. I move that we approve the March 23rd meeting minutes with corrections submitted.
Second.
Second by Cindy. I couldn't tell who was saying it. Was it a tie?
It was a tie.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And I actually had one little correction to the April 6th. I didn't see you did it.
Yeah, I had two small corrections just to make sure that the language that Richard had used to substitute Wayne Bank for Bank of
It was.
Cooperstown, that it wasn't added, it was just substituted.
The minute Cooperstown Wayne Bank, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Now called Wayne
It
Bank.
had said Wayne Bank was added, and I just wanted it clarified that Wayne Bank was substituted for Bank of Cooperstown.
Oh,
We
in the
weren't-
minutes.
We
yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
changing.
Okay,
You did. You
all
did.
right. So with those corrections, is there a motion to approve April 6th by Molly, second by Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
You have no permits tonight. I am going to now do the zoning enforcement officer report to the trustees, which is a little meatier in some ways than we've seen in the past at the requests. Pretty extensive list, and you had forwarded to you HPARB and was it planning or ZBA? It was ZBA. There was no planning board in the month of April. Are there any questions or comments on the zoning official enforcement officer's report?
I'll just add that we looked at 28 Railroad and asked for additional information last month. Jenna forwarded that request to the applicant, and Nick, our zoning enforcement officer, confirmed today that we have not received anything yet.
So that's all kind of on hold. Motion to accept the CEO report by George, second by Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
At this point, because we have our watershed coordinator inspector Jake here, and you can skip to the back of the packet, and you do have minutes of 2 meetings, and as we are in the midst of developing the 9E plan, et cetera, Jake will give us a little update, and if you have any questions, you can ask them.
Good evening, everybody. Jake Gillette, Millfield, Village of Wade. Yes, I just have a couple of quick updates, and it is my intention I'll be coming to you all on a monthly basis, just to give you a quick update and then turn to any questions you have. In terms of the watershed supervisor committee, we do now have an email newsletter that we're putting on about a monthly basis. It's called the Watershed Protection News. We have about 175 folks signed up for that so far. And if anyone does not have the link, or would like it, feel free to email or call my office, and I'll be happy to share that with you. In terms of the 9-element plan, we of course have a lot going on. The modeling work is reaching a very exciting stage where we now sort of have the completed lake model and the watershed model, and we're working with the state and our contractors to get that finalized. And we're going to start setting up to test different best management practices using that model. So that's going to be a very useful tool for our understanding of the lake in the upcoming decades and how we can work to best protect it. We also had just finished review of the local law assessment, which is also part of this report for this program.
And we had a meeting of our leadership and watershed advisory committees. And I'm working now to compile comments to get those back to our contractor, we're moving that forward as well. We of course have been in conversation with all the municipalities about enforcement of the wake zone and wake boats, including you all. And then we also have a new committee member who recently joined, Jeff Weppel, who was also a committee member in Millfield, and he's joined us as their representative. So,
Are there any questions or comments?
yes.
So I had a question about the minutes on April 1st that refer to village bubblers. And they say changes not made this year will be done next year. Does that mean a decision will be made about next year? Because I don't remember this board having a discussion, a really informed, full discussion about bubblers at any of our parks yet.
Yes, to answer your question, I also know of no
Okay.
specific change that we are looking for. I certainly think in terms of bubblers, if anybody's not aware, people use bubblers around the lake, they keep their docks free. There is substantial concern that when you use a lot of those and use them at a high volume, you do clear up a lot of the shoreline. Now, it's sort of a question of whether that affects the dynamics of the lake, right? Because now you're clearing up a bunch of that open water in the middle of the winter time. That can affect the thermal dynamics, right? Because you've gone from something that reflected light right up away from the lake to something that was actively absorbing it. A bigger concern is the fact that if you have enough of those, you may not actually have the ice sheet itself set in enough. So there's some very valid questions in terms of some of the damage that we all see in springtime and our residents see in springtime. Is that caused or at least a contributing factor is the use of these bubblers. So the first main goal is to make sure people are educated because you can use them functionally at a much lower rate or power level than a lot of people use them. You really just need a little bit of turbulence. It keeps the ice from setting in around the dock. So that's sort of our main goal, but I don't know of anything.
Okay,
There's
no,
really nothing like in the meeting where we said that.
I look forward to having that discussion. I think it's an important discussion that
Yeah.
needs to be had.
Just for background, last year in particular, as Jake has pointed out, and Paul Lord has written some very interesting articles about this, and some lakes have prohibited bubblers because you've essentially untethered the ice from the shoreline. So it's like this iceberg, and it's like a power. Oh, there's Paul.
Yeah.
I need to see him.
I'm enjoying listening.
All right, thank you. I read your article. And actually up just north of me, north of around 6 Mile or so, that ice just went and
Yeah.
decimated docks. The Silver now, we could name the people who this year don't even have docks because it caused phenomenal damage. But that, is the creation of people bubbling, that water. So just so you know that. Are there any other?
That clarify in line.
Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you, Paul, for the work you've been doing.
Any other questions, comments?
Just one, and it's more of a comment, you've got the schedule going on the inspection, so if you could give us a word on your, how that work will start unfolding, the septic tank inspections.
To be clear, I haven't expected any yet.
No, not
this
inspected,
year, but
but
yes,
it's not planned.
we're gonna be sending stuff out. I'm gonna be working with Mr. Peck, has offered some time, so he'll be showing me the ropes a little bit. And we're very appreciative for that. But yes, we had certainly many fewer inspections in the last year for staffing limitations, so it is my plan, and I think it should be feasible, although I've not done a lot of this work yet, but it should be feasible to get this started and work through hopefully the first third-ish of our list that's on our current zone attachment links.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Jake, for
Have a
doing
lovely
that.
meeting.
Thank you.
We do have on our additional agenda, the revised law that we've been working on. I had planned to just kind of leave that at the end so we could get through most everything, but I see you are here, Paul, and you were not here when we did public comment. Did you want to, we obviously will kind of refine this tonight and then set a public hearing for our May 18th monthly board meeting. At which point there would be a public hearing on the law and it would probably be adopted. So we're going to do some tweaks, but if you want to speak to it now, I'd let you.
I was asked by the team, to ask a question.
And so you heard.
If you don't have any questions, the
Well,
only thing I would add is, you haven't already, look at the video.
Yep.
Should
Which video we?
warn you as well as
Sent you a
anything.
video.
I sent the video around to my entire board.
Paul, I didn't want to catch you unawares, but we have kind of taken a couple of, made a few drafts of a proposed piece of legislation. So if you had any comments on it, that if you've had a chance to read this or want to help us get a fuller understanding of what you want us to address in the legislation, great to hear it.
So just Joe, I agree with you, Joe, tonight, I don't have any problem with that. I am concerned for purposes of enforcement that the municipality could agree on a common set of language. And that always appears to be a challenge. We're seeing that on everything that we're trying to do, but as best we can, I would hope that the language is common to the four municipalities around.
It is. There's slight, wording differences. They do it differently as a resolution. We already had an existing chapter 44 of our codified laws on voting. So we were just changing that. But I've seen the town of Otsego and town of Springfield drafts and ours conform.
So
I just wanted to follow. One of the things that makes our language a little different, at least in my assessment of it, is that we have the waterworks obligation, the public water supply obligation. And so my recommended justification for this wakeboard boat activity regulation is because of the interest of the health and welfare of the community that uses this lake. So it goes beyond the environmental impacts. It goes.
I don't see that would impact enforcement. And
Right.
trying to ensure the village is trying to do it. No.
So my question was about enforcement, which is the last line on here. So the towns are giving their zoning enforcement officers or similar positions the ability to enforce. Because we have a police force, I do not believe that the village zoning enforcement officer is the right person to issue an appearance ticket under this local law. I think it should be the Cooperstown Police Department. My opinion, others may disagree, but
I agree.
I agree too.
Can I ask you if we do a stop work order, which is an enforcement of one of our zoning laws? Who, I thought the CEO had to do that.
because it's in the zoning law, this is not a zoning law. This is a separate law.
People go to.
Or we could give them both.
Both,
I don't think it's fair to ask Nick, who works for us part-time, a couple days a week, to be issuing appearance tickets for people using wake boats.
It certainly would be easier for the police department.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's fine to include both, but
As I say,
Within the town of Otsego, maybe Springfield, some will be great now, I have a chance to bring my notes. But, and right now, we have visitations very rarely by the sheriff, a little bit more commonly by DPC, but there is also a possibility, I don't want to. Let me just say there's a possibility of other law enforcement on the way.
right.
So I would recommend that we put some language in there saying that it can be enforced by any duly designated.
yeah, in
I-
the draft,
No, I think you just made a good point, Paul. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought that, but
Yeah,
we all know that the supers have a boat on the lake now.
Yeah.
And so you really want to make sure that, all of those
We don't get
agencies are on,
anybody to have the badge on who wants to enforce the law.
police, sheriff, whatever.
We have.
Just so you know, yeah, I drafted this and saw the others, and I thought it was a good line. We have it as I guess modified D. Enforcement, the Village of Cooperstown authorize, we have the village zoning enforcement officer, but we can put in our Cooperstown Police Department to issue an appearance ticket under this local law. Such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the state of New York from enforcing compliance. So they're both in there, and that conforms with Springfield and Otsego.
But I think we, and I would recommend Springfield and Otsego and Middlefield, when they get to this point, also add Otsego County and the Village of Cooperstown under the law enforcement portion.
Okay.
Right, because now it just refers to DEC or state troopers.
So Springfield wouldn't want to add Cooperstown Police Department, but
They don't have to add Cooperstown, but they want the sheriff's department. They want Otsego County.
Yeah.
Because Otsego County is more likely to, or as
No,
likely to be.
we're 100% Otsego County, et cetera, DEC, all of those.
Yeah.
But since it's already mentioning, we're revising it to be the Cooperstown Police Department issuing an appearance ticket. I don't think we can expect them to include our village police department in their laws, what I'm trying to.
That's
say.
fine. Yeah, as long as they add Otsego County.
If
Yeah,
if they were
okay.
to be less specific though and say duly designated officer? Or does that raise other questions? Potentially.
I kind of like the way they did it. Such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the state of New York. And so if you're in the
That
county,
covers-
you are part of that, or you're,
No, that
No,
implies
really,
the
Sam.
state.
yes or
Yes,
no,
that
they're
covers-
I
separate.
missed you. question.
So, well, I was just wondering if it's better to be a little bit
Less
more
specific.
general, yes, less specific, but you know, that's a good question. When you say law enforcement officer of the state of New York, does that imply a state?
That's the way I read it.
So that wouldn't cover the county.
Correct. That's why I'm saying I think we should say law enforcement officer of the state of New York or Otsego County.
So
Aren't
typically,
they an officer?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the sheriff would be they're certainly authorized to issue any kind of.
I agree, they're authorized, but I don't think they're an officer of the state of New York. My opinion, it's a very technical wording.
I have a,
All right, I hadn't really wanted, if there's any more, I really had wanted to move on with the whole
Right.
board because I knew this would kind of get into the weeds potentially, and I was gonna leave it at the end. So if there's any other thoughts you'd like to impart to us before you.
Good luck with it.
We got it. Thank you, Paul.
thank you.
All right. So that was a portion of the Watershed Supervisory Committee report. Moving on to Public Safety Police Committee.
Jess Lanza is away this week, but we did have a good meeting earlier in the month, a lot of stuff going on. Some changes, certainly the biggest change we've probably seen is we have a new police officer, Caroline O'Reilly, who by everybody's input seems to be doing a very, very nice job for us. Jess and I have had many conversations. We're working on a couple of things. You may have seen it during the week where we have more than one officer working. And we have 2 cars on patrol. And I'm trying to encourage one person in the booth unless something extraordinary is going on. I've asked Officer Lanza if the opportunity presents itself. I'd like him to do a traffic assessment of Beaver and Chestnut to see what type of traffic control devices might serve to make that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So that intersection is already part of a project that's in planning stages. So the South End project includes that intersection and there have already been preliminary discussions. So rather than repeat
Oh, terrific.
work, it might be better just to coordinate.
And if you can, just keep us informed, if you will, so we're kind of, because I'm sure the guys who are out there patrolling all the time, handling the accidents, have a lot of information that could prove to be of great value. Jess has also interviewed a student intern from the SUNY Criminal Justice system. He's going to be doing some ride-alongs with us. Okay, as far as I know, that hasn't happened yet. We're beginning the annual business key holder update. Okay, where it allows our officers to enter into premises if there is a situation that requires that. There's gonna be a daily observation log for parking enforcement, so basically we can articulate our plan and modify it as necessary, depending on where problems occur. I've been doing some volunteer work up by the hospital, so I've also asked them to please take a look at Averill up there, particularly in front of Fieldstone, which is a ongoing traffic issue up there with, the potential for somebody to get waffled or a couple of cars to bang into one another. We're in the process of trying to obtain a calibrated decibel meter. We've had some discussion in the past regarding the heating elements that tend to be a lot noisier than what people otherwise have been using prior to these heat pump systems. So that's on the drawing board. And he has, again, I just got a text from him earlier in the day. He has been getting some camera proposals, and we would like to certainly resurrect that as a project, as a project for the village. I'll keep everybody posted as we move along that path. And then, other than that, I think, it's business as usual, really nothing too extraordinary.
Any questions on the police report? No, moving on to fire committee, and that report is in your additional agenda packet.
Anybody? Has everybody ready? Anybody have any questions or concerns? We did have a meeting here on April 23rd, I believe it was, where we discussed their desire to change the plan to purchase a new piece of equipment for the department. Originally, we were looking to change the pumper truck. Okay, but after discussion, both at the firehouse and again here, they would really like us to move in the direction of replacing the Spartan rescue vehicle. And the reason, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, exactly.
The reason being is that rescue vehicle rolls on, it's the most critical piece of equipment because it rolls on every call. And I think we've agreed to endorse that change in priorities.
So just to refresh everyone, we put in, because they had initially thought they would replace the pumper, which is 31 years old. It really was slated for replacement in about 2017. And we have seen repair bills on that and parts being welded back on. So it did seem like it should stay a priority, but they've also been encountering some significant repairs on the 2003 rescue equipment. So they do feel if, if they had to take a pick, it would be that one. It will be more expensive than the pumper. So everything we have in the budget is good. It will just be, moving forward for that.
So is that going into reserve or is it going into an immediate purchase? The 450?
Well, we'll see what occurs this year.
Okay.
We have to see how that
Okay.
works,
Right.
Because we may have to sign a contract this year,
Right,
but we won't probably take possession this year.
right.
So if that's the case, if you recall, in our budget, we were taking 450 from reserves and budgeting 450 of taxpayer funds.
Right.
If those do not get expended, that 450 of taxpayer funds will move into reserves. So it's just building up the reserves for the future purchase.
Great.
And we wouldn't pay the full amount until we take possession. That's gonna be a year and a half from the time.
They haven't even really begun
Yeah.
kind of speccing this, so I think it could be, but as occurred with the ladder truck, we had to sign a contract and didn't take possession for almost a year. This would be even longer. Anything else on?
Just speaking of the ladder truck, my plan tonight was to walk and go past the firehouse to see it, whether it's in the garage. I don't believe it's back yet. They're waiting some sort of part, so that things can be completed and,
This was an inspection and the cylinder, all under warranty, because obviously it's not that old. A problem with it, and so they've had to order a replacement part. And waiting on that. Any questions, comments on public safety? Motion to approve by Molly, second by Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
you just ask a question, I'm sorry, that, well, you, just comment on the discovery of the cylinder, issue in the ladder. Is there any relationship, was that contributory to the?
To what happened?
malfunction? Do we know? And has there
So
been?
I don't believe so. What I understood is they were practicing with the ladder and all that. And they began to experience problems with the outrigger system, and that seems to have been some sort of mechanical failure that caused it wasn't operated. It doesn't appear to have been operator error, but rather some sort of malfunction with those stabilizers that caused the end of the ladder to hit into the pavement. I believe part of the work that's being done at this point is a sensor device that will stop the movement of the ladder once that sensor device either senses or touches down. That I'm not sure how it actually.
I was just focusing on the mention of a cylinder that could be a hydraulic cylinder or something else that was melted.
No, I don't
No.
think there's any relationship.
We still don't have a report on the incident other than an insurance report.
There's an internal report that the fire department has on it. Should we look
I
at
think
that?
also what would be good, it was my understanding, and it's, I had heard this, that there was a failure, and when they ran the diagnostics, they could tell that the stabilizers were, it was like, I don't know what the code was, but error or something was occurring. I think it would be interesting to see if they could provide that data, because in some ways that's more relevant. The issue that was.
Report. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think the whole it's.
Yeah.
With $1 million+ truck, I think we really need to.
Yeah,
at
so
least
see
be
if you
aware.
can get both the kind of incident report and the diagnostics that they ran when that truck went to be
Sure,
repaired.
with it.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments on public safety? No, did we didn't move?
I don't think we
We already.
We did, okay, it was just continuing.
Yes.
Yeah, no. All right, so moving on to Doubleday Advisory Committee.
That's good. So at the top of our meeting, Doubleday Field was not open, but it is open now. They just started having their first games. I believe they had a couple high school teams come and play over the weekend, so that's pretty exciting. Let's see what else. Mr. Jeff Katz was talked a little bit about the hot stove weekend fundraiser, which was a couple months ago back in March. He said it was a success with about 40 tickets were sold, and they raised a couple $1,000s for Friends of Doubleday. and Doubleday Field, so that's pretty exciting. And he did say that tours have been starting of the field, so that's pretty cool too. And the other big thing from his report was that they do have about $5,000 available for any needs that Doubleday Field may have. So that could be basically anything that Mr. Crippen decides to use it on. Let's see, the Major League Wiffle Ball game is on June 6th, and the application has been submitted and the payment should be due by the end of this week, so that's pretty exciting. They have started on advertising for the game, and so hopefully people will see that and come and watch it. And the only new business we had was attached. It was a little bit of an overview about the Dale Einhorn guy. He had submitted a request for us to host their collegiate baseball game or team next year in 2027. And so I kind of just wanted to bring it up to you guys beforehand before we tell them yes or no. Just because we didn't really want them to go through the whole entire application process if we didn't think it was going to be a good fit for them.
Is this a 1 year thing, or are they looking to actually establish an ongoing?
So from the report that I was reading a couple days ago, it sounds like they were trying to establish maybe
That's what I thought, okay.
And so from what Mr. Einhorn had told us, it was going to be about 40 players, baseball players from what they're hoping around the area. So it could be, I guess, yeah, really around the area. And they want to play about 60 games, about half of them here. So that'd be about 30 games here, 30 games away. And they did want to look for a partnership with local food trucks and beer trucks. But they also, like, they had a list of requirements for us to do in order for them to play. So some of the requirements were okay. And then others were like, I was not really a huge fan of. So
Yeah, there's one particularly that I'm concerned about. There's a lot that
The
would.
beer sales?
No, that's not even the one. The enhanced game presentation, parentheses, PA system.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about games that are gonna take place starting at 5 o'clock, going to as late as 8. You know, they say that they understand that there are residential neighbors close by. I'm not sure if they have been to the field to know how close by they are, but for me, I feel like we could work through many of these things, make suggestions, maybe about using an adjoining business for beer sales, for instance. I don't know, there's some discussion to be had, but I cannot imagine that using the PA system for 30 games that include music as well as play-by-play is going to go over well with people who live in that area. That was kind of, when I got to that one, I just thought, yeah.
So the other question I have is, where are we in this process? He says he's trying to establish a collegiate franchise. So when I think of Doubleday Field's interest, I think of scheduling the field. So obviously, whatever that franchise is, it would have to be put together, it would have to have its schedule ready by the time we start booking the games for 2027, right? Otherwise.
So we're not very far into this process. It sounds like this is like the first time we're all hearing about this potential partnership of like 3 weeks ago. So we haven't really contacted Mr. Einhorn about any agreement yet. So it's just him telling us that he.
I mean, it's an interesting thing. I just think they need to know some of our metrics that they won't even be able to get on the field if they're not timely in scheduling. The reason I bring this up is the old business item. I remember talking to some of the school folks who take great pride in having their ball games at Doubleday Field, and now they're closed out because they didn't get their application for field use in. What the window of opportunity has closed for the Hawkeyes to schedule games for the 2026 season.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Well, the question is, why haven't they scheduled the?
The
Do we know?
Hawkeyes?
I've talked to them a couple of times because I was an advocate for the school to. It's within the whole region where we play, everybody's got to state when they're available and all of that, and that the timelines don't mesh.
So
As
in
to
other
when
words,
they get the,
they don't know until much later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The talks do proceed. The one that bothered me was the beer sales. This would require an exception. Yeah, big one. Though beer has been permitted during certain events such as induction weekend, to my knowledge.
No, I don't believe
It's
that.
never been, the
Oh.
high school has the only ones who handle the beverage and food service at these games, and that's decades old, longstanding, great traditions.
So where did they get that?
I think it's the concerts. I think they're thinking of concerts and I think they're thinking of bananas.
Yeah.
That's the only one because it certainly has not occurred at induction weekend, so I think that needs to be made sure that they understand.
Did it occur at the banana, the Savannah
I think
banana?
so.
Yeah,
We
we had,
had
we had
a
beer.
truck
Mhm.
there.
You know, I love the collegiate, like the Cape Cod League.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're great. And
Cape
there's
Cod.
part of me that likes this idea, but I could see the implementation being difficult. I mean, you know, what would the sound level be? And do they really need music?
It should be pointed
I-
out for about,
The last time we had it was about 12 years ago, and I would go to the games. And we had a problem with the owner because basically the problem was he wanted us to make parking free in Doubleday parking lot for people going to the games. And we did not want to do that. That would have meant giving away a significant amount of revenue. And it went back and forth and back and forth. He said, well, if you don't do it my way, I'm taking the team and going.
there were many things, because
Yeah.
basically to this day, you can park at 4 o'clock in Doubleday without paying.
Right.
That's the law. So those games that were at 4 o'clock, there was no fee for parking. So it was a moot issue. It was, I will say I enjoyed it. We hosted probably about 6 Hawkeyes over the course of the years that was in operation. But it has to be managed well,
Yeah.
that's all I will say.
And do we know anything about this ownership group?
No, I don't know anything. I don't think Jeff Katz really, and,
Yeah, I think it would be good to, I mean, I don't know where we're headed with this, but I think it would be good to find out a little bit more about that organization and how they operate.
I have no idea who this, ownership or who the line holder is, so I'll have to look into that more.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you, Ruth.
Motion to accept Doubleday Advisory Committee report by Audrey, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to streets.
So if you look at the bottom of the first page of your minutes, let me note first that the trolley contract continues to move forward through the county process and that in the future, the village should see a contract between the village and the county regarding the trolley service. Down at the very bottom, capital projects, New York Forward. We have been working with Passero on the first project, which would be Pioneer Alley. They would like to schedule a public information session related to that project, and I think we should get it on the calendar sooner rather than later. The date they suggested was Wednesday, June 3rd. I think it's important that anyone from this board who wants to attend can actually be there on the date they've suggested. So just
What time would that be?
probably 5 to 7 or sometime early evening. They had initially suggested daytime hours, but that doesn't seem smart, in my opinion, to hold a
Yeah.
public information session in the middle of the afternoon.
Well, it was at 3 and, we do
Yeah.
have some meetings, but I think for people, 5 o'clock is a better time.
So is June 3rd an acceptable date?
That's a Wednesday? you
It
said?
was a Friday. Oh, wait a
It's a
minute,
Wednesday.
July. Oops.
Yeah.
Wednesday, June.
Wednesday,
3rd.
yes.
Okay, yeah, so we can tell them to move forward with
Mhm.
scheduling.
Yeah.
That. Turning to the next page, just something for your information. We did receive correspondence from a resident about our traffic light. There are some traffic lights in some parts of the country where they have pedestrian lead times, meaning that there is a period where all of the vehicular lights are red and then the pedestrian light turns. I've done a bit of traveling lately and I have not observed this in any of the places that I've gone. I keep hoping to see it somewhere.
What was it, what were they stating with pedestrians go in all directions while the traffic stands still?
There's a lead time for pedestrians. So for instance, all of the lights are red. The pedestrian light that goes from Snyder's to Mel's turns green. Just for pedestrian, it remains green for 5 to 10 seconds, and then the traffic is given the okay to go. I'm waiting to get some statistics from the police department to get a sense of how big a pedestrian issue this is for us. This potentially seems to me like it would be more confusing than the current.
Yeah, it sounds that way.
Okay. All right. And I wanted to get a sense of the board. So you've now given me that. Moving down to trees. Importantly, this Friday, on May 1st at 3:30, there will be a dedication of our memorial tree, which is in memory of Ron and Susie Streak, which is on Upper Main Street at Main Street B&B, which was their residence. So I hope that many people can attend that as our Arbor Day celebration. We will also be planting about 19 other trees in the village over the course of the coming weeks. We have had a request from the elementary school to have their students potentially go to one of those plantings that's closer to the school, so that's great. And the Lions are also moving forward with their planting, so it will be a great year for trees in the village of Cooperstown.
I did see all the stakes
Yeah.
where the trees are going.
Yes.
They were putting the stakes in.
Yeah. So if there are any other questions about the streets committee report, I'm happy to try to answer them.
I did want to make a note. You stated that Flowbird has been acquired by Arrive. Actually, this is what we're seeing in these parking app programs, because it applies to both our parking enforcement and our, paid parking. Actually, in January 25, Easy Park Group completed its acquisition of Flowbird. So then Easy Park Group and Flowbird rebranded to Arrive. And are you ready? Just last month, March 2026, Arrive is acquiring Passport. So Arrive is the
Wow.
mega one
Wow.
that has everything now.
I didn't know that last bit of information.
And so it's has a Flowbird. It actually disappeared a while ago.
We have a monopoly now,
Yeah, exactly.
just like Live Nation.
Yes,
Well-
Yes.
a question about the discussion about traffic signs with Town Judge Russo.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that or? you have
He-
I
thoughts?
believe it's Town Judge Russo.
He is concerned that there are some places in the village where parking tickets are issued and they routinely have to dismiss them due to confusing or inaccurate or incomplete signage. I reached out to Tom yesterday to set up a date to talk about where those places might be so that we can do a better job of informing people about the parking regulations.
I know Gary's chatted with him because you have to be careful about this. Gary actually got one to dismiss. And he said, look, this is the signage. I said, where is that sign? And he drove down that street. And this individual had photoshopped.
Yes, I think this is a
Sign.
concern.
Yeah, and so, but they can do that. It's almost, the judge has to do a little bit of footwork to make sure that for a $40 ticket, they aren't being Ridiculous.
Hmm.
All right, motion to approve the set the streets committee report by Molly, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to buildings. I wasn't in charge of buildings at this point, but I can,
No, I'm sorry.
no.
Richard was trying to create the fastest meeting on the.
Yeah.
Minute.
Oh, is that
Anything
meeting?
that
Let me just take a look at it. I was not looking at it. because
No, nothing
God, I was responsible
transpired
for that
at this
one.
meeting.
What?
Nothing to be.
Nothing happened.
All right.
Basically, nothing happened. The meeting lasted less than 90 seconds.
Joe,
I have a question. It comes back to sort of a long-term planning for the use of our building. And we talked, last meeting, when we talked about building, we talked about the so-called history room.
Yeah.
We do have 2 leases in the next 2 years, coming up for renewal. And I think, I think it's advisable for us to be proactive with our 2 tenants and get a good assessment of, what they perceive their needs to be, what we perceive their needs to be, and we want to rethink if at all, number one, the allocation space, and 2, just the terms of our leases and coordination of, because we have a lot, our 2 tenants have overlapping interests in some of our common spaces, and we've worked out a lot of the, I wouldn't say conflicts is too strong a word, but overlapping interests in using that space. But it just seems to me that this requires some thought on our part to manage how we make the best use of this building for the community.
well, Cindy and I are on
Yep.
buildings going
Yep.
forward. We will certainly take that under consideration. So motion to accept buildings committee by Audrey, second by Molly, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to finance.
Finance Committee, I'm gonna propose the typical monthly consent agenda, but first I want to discuss concept of what we're talking about, offering water sewer authority, water and sewer to auto pay to customers.
I just later today, just about at the end of the day when I was here, Christy came in and our software vendor Edmonds
Yeah.
seems to have admitted one important fact. They cannot coordinate our invoices with Municipay. And we use Municipay. That means the village has no fee at all. If people like the convenience, they pay like a 3.5% fee. They pay that fee for any payment they make. We get the records. We can't use Municipay. We have to go to WIP. And Christie is quite adamant that we don't switch our payments.
All right, so then therefore I have nothing to do except consent agenda.
It was a late breaking.
And I move the consent agenda, which is in our packet. Does anybody want me to read the whole thing?
Now, are there any questions on anything that is on the consent agenda?
Are you doing 1 through 19?
I'm doing 1 through 19.
The one of those that is. Yes.
On the finance.
What did I miss?
I had asked for clarification. So that's why there's further clarification in the additional agenda for the Zachford and mileage reimbursement.
So it's in your additional agenda, it's mileage to complete his CDL road test. He had to attend these classes. I think it would have been cheaper to put him in a hotel, quite frankly, but so it is $1,195.53. Oh, it says 93 on the agenda, but I think it's 53, isn't it?
Well, there might have been changes why it was new additional information.
All right,
But we would have done the new information.
okay, I'm going to recommend that it change to 1,000, what's on it, what he signed for his voucher, 1,195, which is even more. 50 and 53 cents.
Oh, so the 9 and the,
It may have been transposed, I don't know.
yeah, the 9, okay.
Well, it's a two.
Yep, okay.
1,000, it's on again in your additional agenda.
Yep.
All right, so that.
Can I just, on this, I'm confused, on this invoice, there's a little arrow that says continue.
It's the way, this would have been the first page, Joe, and what you're seeing here is the second page, but so that you could see the total, it's that way. You see that? Got it. Right. All right, so with that understanding,
I'll second.
Richard moved it,
I made the motion, yes.
Cindy seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, personnel analysis. Again, you have the overtime analysis, leave, conference and training requests. An employee, status change on salaries. What else did we have? And a list of the, new employees, their salaries. I move that we accept the personnel.
Moved by Richard, second by Molly, all in favor?
Aye.
Does that cover the employee status?
Yes.
Yes,
It includes 5 and the next page.
all the seasonal people we're putting on. I should point out, in that is the tax warrant. The county requested it today by 4 o'clock. So this was sent, the finance committee Richard and I looked it all over, asked some questions. That is in your packet. We have to all sign that. She has the copy, just so you know. So had anyone had any questions?
I had a question. There's a reference on it to like zoning fees unpaid.
Which is snow shoveling, clearing of sidewalks.
All right, that's fine. That's not really zoning. I just wanted to figure
Well,
out.
it's in our law that they have to clear their sidewalk.
Correct, but it's not zoning
Yeah.
law.
It's way, I know it isn't zoning law, but it's the way that it's
That's fine.
classified in here.
Yep.
Because it's not a tax warrant,
Got it.
it's not a water and sewer, we had to classify.
I just was trying to figure out what it was, that's all.
Yeah. All right, so hopefully everyone looked at that carefully in case you want to know about it later. And that'll go around to be signed. All right, so that is finance. Welcome home Cooperstown. I did have this month's. Okay, I'm going to do that in a second. Yeah. Have the press release that has gone out to the papers. You may have already seen it. Next Tuesday, May 5th, is the first Tuesday of the month. Our Welcome Home Cooperstown will feature CGP students who present Revolutionary War graves information. This is in recognition of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Students from the Cooperstown graduate program will present research on area grave sites of the Revolutionary War era. The Gospel Bluegrass Band will provide entertainment, and refreshments are being sponsored by Otsego 2000 Farmers Market.
Here's this one.
Excuse me?
Here, welcome home.
It's our Welcome Home Cooperstown, the first Tuesday of the month. So this is May 5th from 5:30 to 7. So I hope everyone can attend that and enjoy that. Cindy's already given a little update on New York Forward. We're moving forward, set the public community, feedback forum. That's great. Nothing new to report on Round 9 Restore New York or Project Fairy Spring. I should let you know, and you may have seen this, that the Friends of the Parks have gone back to HPARB. The wall material that they were proposing as, the retaining wall for Fairy Lane H Park asked for something that looked less suburban.
Yeah.
They did submit a revised image and H Park approved that, so they have pretty much their ducks in a row. There were some little tweaks to the caretaker's cottage, which is the village portion of the Airbnb project. We shared some of those images. Alex has provided, Plumbing Engineering has provided those. And we'll go to H Park this month and out of Middlefield next month. We don't have a ton of changes. It's not the big visual things that the Friends are taking on. It's more just ADA access to the caretakers quarters. And I think that is it for grants and projects. Moving on, Parkville.
Yes. So we did hear about the project Prairie Spring from Alex. That was great. The parks are getting in shape for the coming season. The Friends of the Park did roll up the rink. And we've requested more wood chips for Badger Park. I'm happy to report that the wrestling team from SUNY Oneonta, 45 or 50 members, were out this past Saturday and got a lot of work done at Prairie Spring. It looks really, really good. Friends of the Park were very happy, so we would love to have the wrestling team back again next year. And John did a great job of leaving sticky notes for every place that needed to be painted, and they were kept busy the whole day.
How was that arranged?
Our university has a program in the Experiential Learning Center through the Center of Volunteerism and Community Engagement. It's called Into the Streets. And every year, students go out and work with various nonprofits throughout the area. And this year, I suggested to Friends of the Park that they sign up, and they were the first ones to sign up, and they got a great team of students. So
could you write up a little blurb? Because I have, a great photo of them working away on the building, some of them. There were 50 of them. And I would love that. It would be
Yeah,
great to
I'll write
put it
up.
on the village's Facebook page. So yes, they really accomplished a lot.
They did. I think I arrived just after they left, so I didn't get to see them in action, darn it.
I saw them in action.
So, let's see, I mean, everybody's getting ready in the parks. We did interview a couple of candidates for caretaker. And I'm not sure where things stand at this point,
Yeah,
but
I was recommending that we check out them. The only problem is they want to they want to
Tag
apart.
team,
They're
yeah.
not going to be separate. They want to tag team around Prairie Spring so that they know when one's not available, the other one will be because they're brother and sister and they're both taking summer classes. So it's good that we have one, now we know it again.
yeah, you need to plug away at that. The dog park came up again. We talked about it this morning, and we'll see where we are with that and looking at what might be feasible with the easement and proceeding with that. The park survey was really well received, I think, and in fact, Jenna, I think put it on the village website, the results that Randy did a great job of collating all the responses. We had, I think, 120 responses to the survey, so it was really great. People are obviously passionate about the parks and have some ideas, and now the Parks Board needs to take a look at it and come up with an action plan. So that is on the agenda for the next meeting, which is next week. And I think that's probably about it.
I mentioned this at breakfast with the board. If the second bullet point under dog park, that last sentence.
Oh, yes.
Village is unable to spend taxpayers' money in the town of Otsego, without an intermunicipal agreement. Just those are key words to be on there. We certainly could. We need to have an intermunicipal agreement. All right, motion to accept the Parks Board report. by George, second by Richard, all in favor? And we're moving on to community and environment.
Yeah, so first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the Otsego County Soil and Water Conservation District has some mini grants that are available with an application deadline of May 8th. They're for $1,000. It seems as if the village should apply for something. One potential project that came up, if you've been to the upstairs hallway, you know that the library collects plastic bags and film, and sometimes that becomes overabundant in our hallway. We could consider purchasing additional boxes for the library. Part of the reason that benefits the village is that that plastic film gets sent in, and then we get park benches, which go to Badger Park. So it's a little bit self-serving, but it would meet two needs, one for park benches and the second to clean things up. I reached out to Heather to find out if that's something they would be interested in. I haven't heard anything back. So my question for the group assembled here is if there are other projects for which that are conservation related that $1,000 would go a long way to making happen. I thought about the buffer strip, but $1,000 isn't enough. And I feel like it would be a little bit of a hard sell to link that to conservation. Right,
I
because
agree that it probably wouldn't go very far.
yeah,
The only other, maybe this isn't quite what we have in mind. In terms of accessibility for the kayak group, do we want to install some sort of a kayak launch between the docks? And-
this is a conservation
Yeah.
grant.
Okay, so not for, not for that lake accessibility and.
No, no, I wouldn't think so. Are there any other ideas?
No, but would we be the organization submitting the grant? Is that the
Yeah.
idea? So.
Yeah. So I would like, and I'll make a motion that the Village of Cooperstown submit a mini grant proposal to Otsego County Soil and Water Conservation District.
And just not specify what it is
Yeah.
at this point, or?
Yeah, if anybody comes up with a great idea, please reach out in the next few days.
You're, maybe this is an idea, soil and water is pretty much involved, is very much involved in the watershed supervisory committee. I don't even signage to dealing with throwing stuff like ditches, is there anything? Signs themselves are clubbing, is there any, I mean, $1,000 isn't much.
Yeah, that's
Is there any
true.
kind of awareness, consciousness raising signage that would make sense?
Are you thinking about a particular location or?
Well, yeah, well, I'm thinking about the siltation running into the lake.
Mhm.
And how. I'm not sure what the remedy, all the remedies are, we're still looking into that, but soil and water says to me, let's figure out something to do.
And what would we do? I mean,
This,
yeah.
oh,
No, if there are suggestions in the coming days for something specific,
it might be worth
definitely.
sending it out. Letting.
I'm just afraid it's only $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even, like, I thought about replacing the pollinator sign, but it's not enough money.
Yeah, that's not enough for some permanent signage, but how much are those receptacles for the?
$250.
Oh, they're that much.
And that's during the Earth Day special.
Oh, wow.
Receptacles?
For the plastic, recycling plastic bags.
You need a $250 receptacle?
Would this money come in?
I have no idea.
Because I think I was the one who suggested something for monarch butterflies, because there's a lot of, like, I know the local garden club is really featuring native plant species. There's like particularly a couple of ones that actually have weed in the name of them, but you know, starting seeds.
Oh, milkweed.
Particularly, well, it's not the milkweed, there's
Another one?
There's a native.
Yeah, these are native species that are really conducive for that. I'm sure most of us have been up to the Fenimore Village and they had a great pollinator display and on the importance of it. I think it could be, and if we got it, it could be coordinated with like one of the monthly Welcome Home Cooperstown and maybe have native
Here?
plant species, yeah.
So plant here.
Yeah, to, well, maybe not plant here, but we had a supply of native kind of grown species. There's a business over in Hardwick that does nothing but native species. What if we?
You know, it gave them out. Is that what?
Pass out native species for planting in your yards.
Okay.
I think that's
That
an
was the
interesting idea.
It's doing that.
I was just thinking about when I was in Minneapolis, so many of the homeowners had those kinds of gardens right in the buffer, the boulevard
Yeah.
part of there. And it was really interesting to see, and the butterflies were all over.
Okay.
All right, so
Yep,
maybe we can
definitely.
do that.
So I made a motion to apply.
And
Second.
second by, all in favor? Perfect.
All right, moving down to rain gardens, it will be announced in Village Voices that the initial rain garden cleanup will be on May 16th, which is a Saturday morning. So we can get things nice and tidy before Memorial Day weekend and people who adopt those gardens can start their work. This committee looked at a request that you all may have received by email from a 3D street painter. And Jenna, I don't think there was ever anything additional received from that individual.
Correct, no additional.
Okay,
He
so
did say that if he was going to proceed, he would be sure to file an application, and he did not submit an application,
so we will
It's my
let,
understanding he expected to be paid for this.
he was trying to line up sponsors. Okay.
and you already heard our amazing news that we received bronze status through Climate Smart Communities. Some of the minutes concern things we did not get points for. And as the mayor pointed out, we will need to recertify. So when we recertify, we can address some of those things rather than doing it now. Questions?
I'll add just one.
Mhm.
What does one do with recycled cigarette butts?
Oh, yeah.
They are plastic, the little ends of them, I assume. I don't know. We have sort of given up on that idea because no one seems especially keen to take it on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bite on
Yeah.
was the right
And
word.
then the volunteers to sort of process these things were,
Yeah.
talk about hazardous duty.
I didn't specifically ask Patty. I'm sure you're very excited about collecting and recycling cigarette butts.
Moving on to tree committee.
The only thing that I will remind you of once again is that this Friday at 3:30, we will be having our memorial tree dedication. You can see we talked a lot about threats to trees. I think it's just important that we keep those all on our radars.
Mhm.
All right, water and sewer board.
I was not there for the meeting. The minutes are pretty straightforward. It's from my review of them. We don't have any serious issues and the systems are running well. There was I talked to Tom Kuchenberger today about the timing of scheduling and picking of the village's water lines. And that hasn't been set. He just needs probably, it would help with it, get a 2-week notice. So we can be sure everything will be lined up and there's a little bit of a miscue between the field station and on the last attempt to do it, but I don't expect there'll be major issues in getting that done, probably in the meeting.
There is one motion that we need to make for water and sewer, and I will move that we increase the rate per gallon to 10 cents per gallon for septic haulers that bring waste to the wastewater treatment plant. Is there a second?
Second.
By
What are we
Sandy.
raising it from?
It was at 8. It's been 8 for a while, several years, so we're raising it to 10. And as the minutes show, there are different rates there, but they felt that that was a functional fee. So a motion made, seconded, all those in favor?
I,
Right, so now we're back at watershed supervisory. And the village law that you have the draft with red comments on it. Joe made additional comments, so we will look at that. And do any discussion. The first one, there were two things that we were asked to do. And one was be uniform. At the point they had the leaders meeting, they thought the village was the only one who had done a wake zone law. Paul Lord could only find that we did. And he asked that it be raised to 250, which is what you see there in the yellow. I will say that the town of Otsego looked through their books and found it. And the supervisor of the town of Otsego at the time, Gary Cook, made the motion to establish that. And I pulled that out. I said, "You did that like 25 years ago, babe." So that's the one change, which is pretty basic. That 250 fee does mesh and is the same as Springfield and Otsego. I haven't seen anything from Middlefield yet. Then there was also the component of the wakeboard boat ban. And we can now discuss that. And Joe has added probably a pretty meaningful component there about the fact that it is the village's public water supply. So there's a little more meat to it, justification. So there need discussion of that, and then also in red on the next page. So let's take it. Is everyone fine with the 250 fee in the wake zone?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Moving on. What's the definition of the wakeboard boat? And then this is now the new B that Joe has provided.
If I could, we'll need Martin's input on this. The reason I put this in case of a challenge to our authority to do this, I think if we link it back to our water quality authority, it has a better chance of survival than you talk more. I mean, there'd be proof problems. How do we demonstrate that there's erosion, and how do we demonstrate, some other things? But if we can associate it with water quality authority that we already have,
I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
Then moving on to 1.
I did wonder, is ban the right word for this?
say that again. You wanted to focus around.
Wake boat ban.
Yeah,
Let's see what the other.
yeah, that's what I'm looking to.
Oh, I don't, yeah. Why don't we just say wakeboard boats or wakeboard boat? And then
it's easy for you to say.
we don't have to have the verb in there, do we?
Yeah.
In the title.
Yeah, I that makes more sense to me. I don't think we usually use the word
Okay, so wake boat, what is it?
wakeboard boats.
Right. and
Just
then we-
that.
Then we go.
With a plural.
Yes.
Definition of this.
And we were fine with the new B.
Right,
But now we moved on to 1.
so. Let's see. If our authority is 1,500 feet into the lake. Or with the legal opinion I found from the Attorney General and from what seems to be the case, we're comfortable with that, then I understand our authority at either of the village, Cooperstown's 2 public boat launch sites. I had originally included nobody could launch a boat anywhere in the village. But So that has the impression of intruding on people's use of their own private property. But number two, so if we leave it out there in number two, it's illegal to operate a wakeboard boat on a Sligo Lake within the jurisdiction of the village of Cooperstown. And I added that edit about the 1,500 feet. So if that's the case, then no one can, if somebody puts a boat into the water, they're in an illegal posture, even doing it from their private property.
If I agree, it would be my preference not to add the sentence that you have added in red about 1,500 feet.
Well, why do you say that? I think that's really important for us to, for the public to know the reach of our authority.
Because we may have additional authorities that we're not aware of. So for instance, near our intake, and I think specifying a very particular authority ties our hands if we find that we have other jurisdictions.
Yeah, I use the word jurisdiction in other areas because,
I'm still not following the problem.
I think Cindy's saying, we may have authority around our water intake. And
Or
so-
other, or our
Are there,
parks,
and this
yeah.
would, saying 1,500 feet would then exclude us from being able to do anything, enforce anything around our water intake.
We're around our parks. I think you've limited our jurisdiction.
No, this is for the purpose of this local law, which is the legal launch of boats. We're not, I'm not talking about anything else. I'm saying,
You're talking about the operation of boats. I would stop at the village's jurisdiction.
yes, yep.
we're not telling anybody what that is.
Correct.
Yeah,
And why would?
Well, that gives us more leeway.
there's a little more leeway to the bill. No, because we may have jurisdiction specifically around the intake.
Or around Ferry Spring, or around 3 Mile.
Right, but what is? I guess I'm not seeing the conflict here. We don't, well, I don't understand how we have jurisdiction in the other towns around our. How do we have jurisdiction on the waters abutting Berry Spring and?
Because we're the upland property owner.
But is it, we're private property owners in that case. We don't
Right.
have municipal jurisdiction.
I don't know specifically that we do, but I think if you add the sentence, you have excluded the possibility that
Yes.
we do.
Well, then let's craft it to,
Doesn't our village boundary across the lake extend
That's
more
where-
than 1,500 feet?
now that's the problem.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, Cindy found the charter that talks about measuring from the shoreline
Okay,
or bounding the shoreline. But there, I found an Attorney General's opinion.
I saw that.
Okay, so that says to me that from any point on that lake shore, 1,500 feet out, we have jurisdiction to take this kind of action. So I don't understand how this precludes. This local law is about banning wakeboard boats within our jurisdiction. It's not about anything else.
I agree with you, and I don't think the sentence is needed. I think it is restricting.
Well, I think it's,
Well,
Because
I see Cindy's argument about,
But it does.
the damage that a wakeboard boat could do to our water intake.
the water intake is within 1,500 feet of the shoreline.
Is it?
Well, if I'm measuring 1,500 feet out from Lakeland Shores, I'm pretty damn sure it is. I mean,
Yeah, I typically prefer not to include more specificity than is required.
I think what we have to remember here is that any of the laws we make, we do not have a court in the village of Cooperstown. We're going to be relying on the town of Otsego or the town of Middlefield, depending if it's east or west of the Susquehanna River as you go out in the lake, to adjudicate this. And the one goal of having the 3 townships in the village kind of work on this together was so that there was a little bit of conformity with the laws. Yes, our wording might be a little different, But I believe jurisdiction is the safer word when we're working with all the other townships.
Right, so jurisdiction is, I'm really trying to deal with this issue. We're gonna be in another court, right, one of the town courts, to seek enforcement of this, is they say, well, where's your jurisdiction? Then we go to the proof of all that. If it's in the law, that argument is likely not even to be raised. But, you know, Tom Russo just talked about the flying to courts with confused laws and charges getting dismissed. I mean, clarity doesn't hurt us here. It's not, they're not words of limitation.
I believe that they are words of limitation.
For the purpose of this local law, our jurisdiction is, what am I'm just really trying to understand this. What am I limiting myself from doing by this 1,500 feet? We thought we were talking 200 feet. We thought we were, I mean, as Ellen pointed out this morning, you know, to the extent we're using the lake bed, which is owned by the state, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But the Attorney General of the state of New York has said, for the purpose of this kind of regulation, your jurisdiction extends 1,500 feet. So that's a get for me, not a limit. Anyway, that's my thought. I don't know, Martin, what do you? Well, I mean, you know, can this be construed to somehow preclude in any other law we enact to protect our water? We already have the authority, Cindy, from the state under 1100 and 1101.
Can I try to explain again?
Sure.
You have found a specific instance where there is an opinion that defines our jurisdiction based on feet from a shoreline, correct? And I agree with you. We absolutely have that jurisdiction, no doubt about it. There may be something out there that gives us an additional jurisdiction, for instance, as an upland property owner or as operator of our wastewater or water systems. And by saying for the purpose of this local law, we are only recognizing this one jurisdiction. If there is another that at this moment we are not aware of, you have excluded that from the law.
Right, so we can add phraseology to the effect that this authority is in addition to any other authority the village may have. There's phraseology like that saves you from having precluded yourself from access to any other authority.
That was my concern, yes.
So
Quite frankly, I think we have jurisdiction away from a boat. If one were in the water, comes into our jurisdiction.
Right, so
because that's where the damage is.
Well, the damage can be pretty extensive and pretty far.
Oh, yeah, no, no. Yeah. I think a boat that's up by 3 Mile, if that weight extends down, I mean, there's probably a dozen wake boats out at the other end of the lake. I can sit out on our porch at our camp and watch them one after another going down the lake. And those waves come in and they're substantial. But I'll guarantee some of those waves probably continue much way down the lake. And so I think if a wake, even if they're 2 miles up the lake, I think if their wake extends into the village jurisdiction, which I think is our boundary at a minimum, I think we have jurisdiction over them, but I don't care how you phrase it. Well, the dilemma for this whole law is going to be how many boats are out there enforcing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's not the presence of the boat within our jurisdiction, but the boat's weight within our jurisdiction?
Well, of course, I have a problem. I'll be right up front. I have a problem with just saying you can't have a wake boat. If you're a wake boat only, I'm very familiar with them. I don't have one, but they bring in the water into tanks, which settles the rear of the boat, the stern, which then plows through the water and creates it. You can run a wake boat without any water. I used to ski behind one that, well, I didn't want that huge weight there. And my neighbor used to have one and they'd go out, but the only time they'd ever use those huge wake boats is when they're dragging somebody on a float or somebody's trying to surf the wake, but you can have wake boats out there a lot that aren't being used as a wake boat, is the best way I can phrase it. They don't make any bigger weight than anyone else. But I'm not gonna worry about that here. I mean, if somebody wants to raise the point, I'm doing nothing different than any other boat. How do you distinguish that I've done something wrong? We'll change the law.
Sure, we'll look at it, but yeah, that's a risk. I
Yeah,
think we can, a legal risk, I think. So Cindy, if we modified this language to suggest that this is in addition to any authority, other authorities the village may have. That
That's fine.
satisfy you?
Yep.
So are we talking to, one or two now?
Two.
Two, and what is the change going to be?
I'll have to get some language, Mark, you know, familiar with two, it's this authority is in addition to any other authority.
Okay.
This 1,500 foot, a jurisdictional authority is in addition to whatever else.
Yeah.
So that's in red. That's underlined, for the purposes of this local law, the village's jurisdiction extends 1,500 feet into Lake George, I'm sorry, Lake Otsego, measured from any point on the shoreline. That's gone and you're rewriting it.
No, that's
staying.
It's kind of an added sentence saying that this.
So 1,500 feet stayed
Is
in.
not intended to limit if our jurisdiction extends beyond 1,500 feet.
Or any other jurisdictional
Yeah,
authority. we
yeah.
have.
I don't want to wordsmith by committee, but there might be better ways to phrase that.
Yeah, I agree.
I promise to go and look for text, I know it's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, you have note 1 uses launch and 2 uses operate. Is there?
Well, I do, what's,
But there's a difference between the two.
Launch and
things.
operate.
Yep.
One's
It
you're
should be.
launching. and-
Yeah, one's
Right.
operating.
so I just wanted to make sure we were paying attention,
Yeah.
because we're saying in order to launch it, you're operating it.
Yeah.
So, but that's fine, I just wanted to get people to think about it.
Well, we have the special ability that other than Springfield, the other municipalities do not have. Springfield has a launch. Not Middlefield and Otsego do not. We do. So I think that is important that says.
I agree.
And my language and the broader language, which I saw you took out, and I think we're fine because of this operation language we have. The private hope, the question is, will Otsego regulate its private launches? We don't have any private launches.
Correct.
Here, but Otsego's got many of them.
That's 3.
Well, I don't know, is Lakeland Shores a private launch?
I don't know if they had a launching carry.
It's definitely carry down.
Yeah,
But you
There's no
have
motor-
3 or
No.
4 trailer launch spots in the town of Otsego and 1
Yeah.
or 2 in Springfield.
so
Alright.
anyway, that's,
So there's gonna be a final tweak and we'll see that, right? So I would prefer to sort of know what we're putting in here to approve this tonight.
right.
Yeah. It
So
shall be.
there will be a phrase about not limitation on any of your jurisdiction will have. I'll get that as, Martin or I can get that to you pretty quick.
What, you feel that within the jurisdiction of the village of Cooperstown is too vague and you need to fine tune it more? I agree, we
No.
don't want to wordsmith, but I also want to be able to have this board approve something that's not being
Okay.
changed.
So to be clear, what I'm suggesting is we keep the sentence as written and we add a sentence that is, that makes clear this is not a limitation. The reference to this authority is not a limitation on any other authority the village of Cooperstown has.
Can I suggest, would it be easier to just add, but is not limited to, somewhere in that sentence? It extends 1,500 feet into Lake Otsego, measured from any point on the shorelines within the village boundaries, but is not limited.
Well, so is jurisdiction extend, but is not limited to, well, it's other forms of jurisdiction. It's really not that, we don't know.
You want me to?
We know that the Attorney General's opinion says that municipalities can regulate boats on waterways, and we're regulating boats on waterways or prohibiting them, whatever we're doing. we have other jurisdictional
Were you working on
claims.
something there, Cindy?
I
Okay.
I have something.
Let's hear
Sure.
something.
Okay, this is my suggestion to drop the beginning part of the sentence and begin. The village's jurisdiction extends 1,500 feet into Lake Otsego, measured from any point on the shoreline within the village's boundaries, in addition to any other designated jurisdictional authority.
Good.
Wow, perfect.
Like that.
Nailed it. See,
I knew it was out there
all right.
in the ether somewhere.
And then, so that note goes out at the bottom, and then we've got, everything else is existing there.
Right, did you want to put our police force first and there's a?
Wait, well, you haven't gotten there. So violations, there's no change, that's C.
Correct.
And then D, we wanted to say the Village of Cooperstown Police Department is authorized. Is that what you wanted to say?
Well, you could use the active voice. The Village of Cooperstown authorizes the Cooperstown Police Department, however we want to say it. And there's no reason to preclude him, is there, our CEO from to issue an appearance ticket? That's our language.
I would use or instead of and. Or instead of and.
The Village of Cooperstown authorizes the Cooperstown Police Department
Or
No,
or,
I think they both have.
They both have to.
oh, that's bad then.
yeah,
One or the other? Are you, when you say or, you're saying one or the other?
One or the
Correct.
other. Yeah, you don't want to say again, because then you'd have to have both of them.
Right.
yeah.
Right?
Or the village zoning enforcement. Is that what you wanted to be?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the Otsego County? Weren't we gonna add that?
well, that's,
That's,
In the next line?
yeah, the such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the state of New York from enforcing compliance with this local law.
And
This one
Otsego
is-
County is considered,
And
This is tricky because
It's right.
yeah.
well, then you gotta sort of tweak that one. Such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the state of New York or Otsego County.
right,
Ability to go anywhere, in the state.
well, I want to ask.
I think it's state of New York, because you know who might be doing some of this is SUNY.
And DEC.
And DEC, so I think what we have, and DEC is an enforcement officer. I think we leave that kind of exactly what, this matches town of Otsego and town of Springfield.
I will say that, two candidates for sheriff differ on what the sheriff's responsibility is here. One of them says that they would put, patrols on the lakes, and the other one says he can't put patrols on the lakes. So I wouldn't limit in any way, shape, or form sheriff from doing it in our law.
Okay. Well, then we could say any officer of the county of.
That's what I just said.
Or state of New York.
Yeah,
yeah.
Can I ask a question though? Do we? Under our home rule authority. Do we have to? Authorize the state to enforce our laws as opposed to state laws?
I think this is put in for clarification, as I guess why that's there. I think any police entity can enforce a law. You get tickets by, I prosecuted for years and I covered justice courts, and you had troopers writing tickets for village burning leaves and all of those things.
Okay, and so I just
But-
wanted to be clear, because we could write this to say this authorizes. If we want to claim our home rule authority, authorizes state and county officials to.
I think
enforce this
you
law.
will, I think you're really saying that with that sentence, such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer, if we said of the county of Otsego or state of New York, from enforcing compliance.
yeah, I like that.
What I'm trying to say is, that assumes they have the independent authority to do that, rather than us as a home rule entity giving them, for what it's worth, giving them in this, we authorize the
They
state
do
and the
have-
county.
But they do have
enforce
the
these
right
laws.
to do it. They don't
I mean,
need us to authorize them to do it.
I don't know that they can be put into our village under their authority and enforce our laws.
The
Joe, they do.
the state police do it every day.
So they're gonna get out their ticket book and look at. village laws.
2 years ago, I prosecuted somebody called the state police because someone hadn't shoveled their sidewalk. And I ended up on justice court, prosecuting an individual, and the trooper showed up to testify. He had pictures of the unshoveled sidewalk. And so we found the person guilty.
But we were the complainant.
No, we
Not the
weren't
state.
complaining, the state of New York was the.
No, but the state
Or the
prosecutor.
state trooper was.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I think you've got it there. I don't know that it's gonna create any problem, but.
All right.
Okay, do we feel we have this pretty well?
Yeah,
Everything?
we do.
And just to make sure on D, we're crossing out note your red line there, right?
Yes, because we brought it up. Please.
Yeah. I'm
What-
just,
what-
just trying to get
What does the second sentence say?
the second sentence under D or which?
Under D.
Should, I just said that I'm not saying it's perfect, such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the county of Otsego or state of New York from enforcing. We're saying we're not preventing you because I know they have authority to do it if they want to.
Yeah, because SUNY would be state of New York, you know, if they did it Cindy or DEC.
Right.
Yes,
I was texting with Jess and he had said that in versus of may be important. So if it said law enforcement officer in the state of New York, then it would include everybody.
Oh.
So any law enforcement officer in New York State covers all officers. That includes deputies.
in the state, just do that and not do that. See, go now.
They may not have. There are, a police force can't go out of our town, or out of our village and have authority unless they're acting
Right.
mutually. You know, this thing is not gonna get, the only way this thing's gonna be found improper is going up on appeal. It's gonna cost somebody
Let's just keep that county about Seagull.
Yeah, okay.
to fight about it. It'll never get fought about.
Actually,
Let me ask a different question. Is the DEC, we're hearing that they may take on this role. Will the DEC find itself sufficiently authorized by the village of Cooperstown by this language? Do they want something more affirmative if we're trying to listen?
they don't need
I
us.
think we've done it. We haven't prevented anybody. They have authority. I don't have any question. DEC has authority. On the lake. That's who we used. Oh, you weren't. We had a buoy that was put in right off Berry Springs. And a guy had a boat moored there. And our position was DEC came down because we couldn't seem to get the sheriff or anybody to ticket them. And we wanted that buoy out of there because it was within our lake rights. So DEC came down. They actually borrowed a boat from Sammy Smith and went over, took pictures of it, put a little notice on it that it was illegal. And if it wasn't removed within X number of days, they'd take it out, and they did.
They took the boat out?
No, they took
The
the buoy
buoy
out.
Oh,
out.
the buoy out.
See, I got everything but your wording in two, and
yep.
I can kind of redo this since I'd sent around the original draft.
Yes, so the red sentence in number 2
That's
says
the village's jurisdiction.
extend
Yeah.
1,500 feet into Lake Otsego measured from any point on the shoreline within the village's boundaries, in addition to any other designated jurisdictional authority.
Any other designated
Jurisdictional authority.
designated jurisdiction.
Oh,
Authority. Okay, I will make those corrections, send it around for everybody else to look one more time. And, all right, so are we happy with this law? Okay,
that's included.
I move that we, set a public hearing at our May 18th meeting to consider the revisions to section chapter 44 of our voting law.
Second.
Second by Richard.
Can we discuss just a second? So the question now is, we've got our product. The exhortation is that we coordinate with the others to check. Do we want, before we publish in the next few days, before we publish?
I'll send it to them all, but as I said, Springfield sent ours. Otsego, what's key that we want is the fines and the basic gist. We're gonna be different. You've just added a whole thing about it's our drinking water. They don't have that.
Right.
These laws are gonna be different. I will share this once everyone said, yeah, that's the wording we approve.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Okay.
So motion was made and seconded.
I think Richard.
I'm sorry. Richard, sir, I'm sorry, Richard, you have that. To set the public hearing at our May 18th meeting to consider the revisions to chapter 44 of the voting law. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Oh, one other thing.
Oh. No, this is done now, Joe.
No,
Joe?
no, there's another thing on another topic that I don't want to forget.
Oh, but not this.
Kayak racks?
Yes,
All right. We have new business related to the kayak racks, but let's finish.
Yeah.
Are we done with this other thing?
We are done with that as far as I'm concerned. Everybody
Okay.
else?
yeah, no,
All right,
I
moving.
thought we were adjourned and I didn't want to.
All right,
But that is really a parks thing. It's not the watershed.
it's under new.
Yes, I didn't think to bring it up, right,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, new business.
There was discussion at breakfast with the board this morning concerning the potential relocation of the vertical kayak racks to some other location. Just to be clear, the horizontal kayak racks cannot be moved from where they are because they are fixed to the ground. So the six that are, horizontal. Yes, there's 6 spots.
6'5".
They would be difficult to move.
Mhm.
So Audrey, Joe, and myself went to Lakefront
Jean.
Park and Jean and Mitch.
Yeah.
There was a whole
Mitch
group of
must
us.
come later after I left.
Went to Lakefront Park to see if there was a location closer to the lake down the hill where the kayak racks might fit. We looked at 3 different options. The one that Ellen had suggested was against the side of the lakefront motel. The problem with that location is the height of the kayaks. So because they're vertical racks, if you stretched the racks along Fish Road, it would be almost impossible to get the kayaks out of the motel side without hurting the building. Because you would lean them out and they would hit the building.
I thought they were going out like this,
Then they
like
would,
you'd pull a car in.
then they would take up a tremendous amount of space because you have to have about 10 to 15 feet between the racks in order to get a kayak out because kayaks are tall. That makes sense. It looked like a great solution, but in terms of actually doing it, it didn't
And I
seem
was
to
a
work.
very strong, I joined you, I was a very strong advocate for that solution. It couldn't work. And while we were there, this honking truck and boat came rolling in and rolled right through the profile of.
Yeah,
rack.
he helped us determine what a truck towing a large boat has to do to turn around. So he was very helpful. So that was place number 1. Place number 2 was close to the lake between the stand of pine trees and where the crisp stewards sit. There is not enough room there. And I don't think anybody was very excited about that location
In a
anyway.
view shed.
Yeah. Place number 3 was between the bathrooms and the start of the row of trees. There is adequate space there. It would necessitate the loss of 1 parking space because the accessible space would need to move down 1 so as not to be disturbed by the kayaks being
Is
unloaded.
it in the park enough? Because boats go in both directions on that wash station.
It would be on the grass.
It would be on the
That's
grass.
what I said.
But weren't the trees in the way?
No, we figured it out.
Okay, because when we initially looked at it, you must have stayed much longer.
Oh, we were there for quite some time.
Oh, okay.
I have a picture. If anyone would, it also requires the relocation of the trash can, but that presumably is,
Does that affect the food trucks during late?
Well, the food trucks would never be on the grass.
No.
They may have to face out to the parking lot.
Yeah.
They aren't on the grass, they're really on the edge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're farther down. actually, the food truck is where a couple of them are where the stewards are, right? The pizza truck. and-
There's like 3 trucks. They start pretty close to the bathroom.
Yeah,
So I have a picture I will pass around. Okay. The kayak racks would start at the accessible parking sign and they would go back to the tree by the bathroom.
and you could fit all three.
And you could fit all 3.
The trees wouldn't be.
Hmm?
The trees would not be an issue.
In terms of,
Being able to, because when we looked at it initially, it was,
there's only
you
one.
could only fit 2 without having the kayaks up in the trees.
This is up near the bathroom end. Yes, we figured out how to make it work.
And the purpose and need of this. The purpose and need of this is because I've heard from a lot of people, how difficult it is. Older and less able people, but who are still able to get their kayaks down to the water and. So the first request was, please at least get them off the hill.
Yeah.
And I've long been opposed to the view shed, being interfered with, but I think on balance, we really should have tried to accommodate.
They would be somewhat obscured by the bathroom.
Yes, yeah, it's a compromise, there's no question.
We're not really. And going the other way.
Are they going this way
Yeah,
or
it would
is
be-
this,
They're-
are we
they're in a
moving,
line.
because there is a horizontal ones in addition to the vertical, are we?
It would just be the verticals.
We're just moving the verticals down.
The horizontals are permanently affixed or semi-permanently affixed
Okay.
to the ground.
Yeah, and they'd be in a line, though, they wouldn't be 3.
They'd be parallel to the curb.
They would,
Correct.
yes. So there would be a row of kayaks that was facing out toward the road, and there would be a row of kayaks on the other side of the, because it's 2-sided, it's double-sided.
Oh, yeah.
And then
yeah.
there would be one that was interior facing into the park. So that could work if the board is willing to entertain it as a solution.
And what's the cost? Is this going to be accomplished by the village crew?
Yeah,
And
Mitch said happily he showed up and maybe you called him, City, but.
I did.
Oh, so nothing is left to chance.
Look at this
But
man.
he said they have the capacity to do it if they're
Alright.
directed to.
all right, so that, everyone good with this?
I think it'd be good for people.
All right, good solution. All right, last thing on the regular agenda is the approval of our adoption of our 2026-27 budget. In your additional pack, the last page are tweaks that have been done that aren't on this tentative number 4, that it is the recommendation that we incorporate. One is a result of, there was a decrease in the amount of our fire protection service line and a decrease in our EMS service line. The reason being, they had slightly miscalculated their response statistics or hadn't supplied all of it, and so that therefore affected, it meant village taxpayers are paying more and they're paying less, basically,
Okay.
is what it is.
Okay.
The other one is on police and had to do with the fact that in our prior budget, we had specifically budgeted for a part-time kind of police chief, Frank Cavalieri. And now that is just, he had not used all those hours anyway, and that has just been rolled into the other line, the kind of salary line, so that reduced that line. The only thing I wanted to double check on, Cindy, was, had you made sure that the Otsego County grant is noted?
That the Otsego County grant related to.
Upper Main Street, $1,000 or $1 million.
So what Mitch and I thought is that until we find out whether we keep that, we could keep the money in water and sewer reserves. And in the event that it is awarded and we move forward in this budget year, which is
Doubtful.
doubtful, we could pull it out of reserves with a permissive referendum.
If we got the grant.
If we got the grant and actually started work in this budget year as opposed to the next budget year.
Right, and streets reserve, because would there be a portion that would be water, there'd be a portion sewer and portion street, right?
Well, we wondered if it made more sense to use the grant for the vast majority of the street portion and use the water and sewer reserves. Water is questionable
500,000.
for our match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense, but if we have that option to do it that way, that's fine. So no adjustment there.
No adjustment. The money is currently in reserves.
All right.
And the whole thing is kind of tentative, both in
Anyway.
terms of receipt and timing.
Mhm.
All right, with those changes that are enumerated there, I move that this tentative number 4 budget become the adopted 2026, 2027 budget. Seconded by Richard. All in favor? Moving on, we, as been said several times tonight, we are not going to be meeting on the 4th Monday, but that's Memorial Day. So breakfast with the board will be Monday, May 18th at 8. And the regular Board of Trustee meeting that evening at 6. We do need to have a brief executive session, so.
Move to go into executive session.
Seconded by Audrey, all in favor? Aye. Night, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.